Monday Night Chat with Wong Chen.
Brought to you by the Member of Parliament for Kelana Jaya in collaboration with Invo.
Hi, welcome to Monday Night Chat. This week we're shooting from Parliament. Parliament is in session. It's been in session since the 5th of March, last Monday. Today is actually the 8th of March, which is the International Women's Day. So on that matter, we're going to talk about women's representation in politics and women's representation in Parliament. Now let's start with the idea of at least the numbers. What is the current state of play? Number one, there are 23 members of Parliament who are women in Malaysian Parliament out of a total of 222. So that's roughly about 11% representation. That's extremely low by any standards. Second, leadership in politics. Now, in political parties, we get all these numbers actually from Dr. Mazna, who's a good friend of mine. I met her 5-6 years ago in ICS, and since then we've been friends. Dr. Mazna wrote an article in Aliran, and she provided the following numbers. In political parties' top leadership, I'm from PKR, so congratulations to PKR. PKR is the highest number, which is about 26.7%. PBS, the Sarawak Party, is at 21%. DAP is at 12.5%. UMNO is at 12.3%. And the worst performing political party in all of Malaysia in terms of women representation in its top leadership in the political structure is Gerakan at 5%. So it's pretty obvious, the data tells you representation of elected women is low, and representation within party is challenging as well. I mean, PKR, we're very proud, we're at 26.7%. We should strive for a bit more, 3-4%, to make it to 30%. Now, why do we want women in politics? It's quite simple. Women hold up half the world. They are 50% of the population. They are generally, without sounding sexist, they're generally kinder than men, okay? Less corrupt, less war, less violent. So, I think it's also, we need to bring in a softer culture if we're going to solve all the major problems in the world. That's why it's important that women get into position of power and try to influence the way history has been made in the last 5,000 years. So that's why I think there is a need not only women to be representation on the issue of maternity, women's rights, labor rights, but really to try and bring in a climate of something that is softer, more considerate, more caring, less corrupt, less violent. So we see that some of these countries, for example in Rwanda is the world's highest number of women representation, about 60-something%, 64%. But you also know that Rwanda had a genocide. Maybe this is an overreaction to the genocide that happened in Rwanda, that they fed up, these men are going to fight and kill each other. Let's put women in charge instead. The countries that we really love is always Norway, Denmark, Finland. They all have representation of women above 30%. Some of them hitting 35%, some of them up to 42%. So there is a direct correlation between improvement on a greater number of women in politics and the peacefulness of that country. So that's why we think as a policy, this must be driven. But it's not so easy. How do we implement and ensure that, say, women gets a 30% quota in Parliament? Malaysia practices first past the post. So if you put a woman candidate, the other side may sense that, due to cultural or whatever reason, they put a man candidate. That man candidate may have a better chance of winning. So what can we do to ensure that at least higher level of women participation? The first policy that we could pursue is to enforce on every political party that wants to contest that they put up 30% of its candidates as women. Now, will these candidates win and result in 30% of the seats are actually won by women? Not likely, but at least it's a start. The first past the post system, and because we are adversarial, it's going to be difficult. You can't say, for instance, Kelana Jaya seat is only for women to contest. That cannot happen. You can only propose 30% of your candidates in total are women. So I think that is one direction you can go. Second is to go into a proportional representation system where You mix the first past the post and proportional representation. Proportional representation means the party appoints people. So you could have like a bunch of people who are elected on first past the post, or at least on constituency basis, and then the party gets an additional vote, and they can vote in like put in about 30-40 people to make up the numbers if there's shortage of women representation. Yeah. Then also has this problem because in Malaysia that means we have to revamp the entire electoral system. So I don't think that's going to go through very well. The final solution could be this. We have 222 members of parliament. If say after the election is over, we find that women representation is only 11%, 15%, or that we're short of 20%, then we could create 60 to 80 additional seats and make sure that the parties only put up women as candidates. Yeah, that could be a solution, but tricky again. So I don't really know what we can do going forward, but I think the dialogue must start, and that the numbers have to be crunched carefully. And in addition to just forming a quota system, we have to think about how long that quota should last. Yeah, like the NEP, the quota should end at a certain time. So what I suggest is we look at the entire structure of electoral process, mixing a bit of proportional representation if need be, but also at the same time put this quota of 30% up to one generation, which is roughly 22 years only. Yeah, that is the quota solution. The real solution has to be in education, and that's where we have to start focusing in ensuring that women are given full equality at the young age and being taught, and boys are taught to respect women a lot more. Yeah, and if you do that and you do the proportional representation or whatever model you need to do to get the elected representative up, then women, young women, can look upon future heroes, future women heroes. You know, for instance, Wan Azizah or Nurul Izzah, yeah, and look and say, look, I want to be a politician in the future. So that's what we can think about. I think my staff are a lot of feminists out there. A lot of my interns are also. I would like to say that I'm a male feminist. So this issue is important to us. We'd like to listen to your feedback on this Policy Monday. Thank you. Hi, Q&A this week in 120 seconds. We're in Parliament, so the very first question, Cynthia, are you ready to hit it? Let's start now. Now, I did a press conference on the sex registry of sex offenders in Malaysia. The issue is very simple. The ministry, despite the law being passed for 22 months, almost 2 years, has only managed to register 107 sex offenders. That was shocking. I asked it to the Deputy Minister, she answered it. I just couldn't believe it. We know on average there is about 9,000 cases a year. Yeah? To register 107 after 22 months of passing the law is disappointing, to say the least. Number two, what are my views on the two-term limit, whether it's applicable for Menteri Besar and also Prime Minister? I think it should be applicable for both Menteri Besar and Prime Minister, because these seats are all powerful. Yeah, so the only way we can curb corruption and abuse of power is to set that limit and fix and stick to it. Number three, what's the best thing of this Parliament session so far? Well, the best thing is really catching up on Friends. It's a bit bittersweet at the moment because we know this is the very final session. Okay, we know and we've heard political talks that some members are not going to be candidates again. We know some are retiring. So it's a bittersweet thing to catch up and to chat with people and to find out how are things. Yeah. Number four, water cuts in Selangor. Very unfortunate. In Subang Jaya and also in Kelana Jaya, well, Sri Setia, we are getting complaints across the board. This is really, really bad. I don't know really what can I say other than to apologize. I hope the state government will pick up and do their best to try to address this issue as soon as possible. Number five, a silly question. What is my favorite fruit? I like all Malaysian, I like to eat durian, but I think cempedak is my all-time favorite. Yeah, it's really expensive and hard to get now. I just don't understand why. I think it's a fantastic fruit. Well, that's it for Q&A this week. Thank you.